Internet of Things makes our cars driverless, our homes connected, our cities smart, and factories run seamlessly. Artificial intelligence combined with IoT data is where the business value is created. Imagine yourself in the driverless world. I will teach you to pivot your career and innovate in your business using IoT, AI, and autonomous vehicles. Let's begin your journey with me today. Welcome to IoT Solutions World Congress 2018 Barcelona. This is part 2 on digitization of connected car from the Fireside chat I did covering data and digitization.
Hello everybody. I'm Sudha Jamthe. Hope you are joining us for this amazing Fireside chat we are going to have today about car data and digitization to get us to the future of transportation. I focus on Internet of Things and autonomous vehicles and research that space, do some advisory work, and teach courses on the business side of IoT and business sides of autonomous vehicle at Stanford Continuing Studies. So the slide that you're seeing here was put together by one of my Stanford students as a class project where they wanted to build out a data management platform inside the car. There is so much data in the car. So what about the privacy? You were talking to me about some privacy by design. Tell us a little bit about that.
Data inside the car has very different origins. There's data that covers, for example, the functionality of the car, or the data that's important for maintenance purposes. There's data around the navigation system, around the entertainment system, but there's also privacy-related or person-related data. For example, your phone numbers, contacts, anything that you have downloaded into the car. So there's a whole set of data inside the car, and obviously it's really important to handle this data efficiently and according to the laws. And there comes in the privacy by design. So first of all, only data that is really necessary for providing a service that the customer has consented with should leave the car. So it's not that you should just send out all of the data, collect it somewhere like in a data lake, and then later on figure out what to do with the data on a consent basis. But the privacy design already starts in the very beginning. So you have to reconfigure, and that's actually how it's done. You have to reconfigure your car every time the customer switches on a new service or switches off a new service. Reconfigure it in such a way that the data that is used for this service leaves the car or does not leave the car. And but leaving the car is only the first part. So now you have a very long data chain, and you really have to make sure that along this data chain, the data is really handled in such a way that's appropriate for the data. And that's why we also like to talk of the data, not of the data itself, but as of objects, because the data needs some additional information. So what kind of privacy level does the data have? What kind of security consideration does the data have? Does it have a quality of service coming with the data? So can I fire and forget the data, or do I have to make really sure that the data comes to the place where it's really has to be at? And all these things have to be brought into the design of the systems, and really in such a way to really also have it tamper-proof. And that comes to a different point. So at the point everybody is talking about data and making money of the data, but at the point where you're really selling your data and using it to make money, of course, there will be a lot of effort to misuse the data so that you earn this money. Take, for example, the insurance case. So if your insurance depends on the data that's sent out of the car, how you drive, obviously it should not be possible to manipulate the data so that it looks like you're really a nice, relaxed driver, although you're a race driver all the time. So these issues come really into play at the point when the data is important for making money of it, or important in sense of safety and other issues. Yeah.
So when you say data, you're talking about the behavioral data of the customer, or are we talking about telematics data? I mean, we're talking about AI in the car in some form, right, Tanis?
Yes, so it's a good point. So there's also, of course, the behavioral data, and nowadays I think there's a lot of systems, be it on the phone or somewhere else, where you somehow there's somewhere written very small at the back that you consent to that your data can be used for optimizing the system. But I think that's a very general statement, and I think because it can be optimized in many ways, and you don't really have a good feeling on how it's really used. So I think in the future there will be much stricter and much more defined and precise way of saying, so what kind of optimization is my data used for? So is my behavior, how often do I press some button, is this used to optimize the button, or is there any profiling done or anything like that? So I think this will be much more specific in the future, and it has to be, because the customer owns the data and the customer wants to know what the data is used for.
So this morning actually I was talking at Barcelona Technology School, and was talking about data in the car, as there are at least 3 digital twins in the car. One is the vehicle data itself, the other is the user data, which could be the profile and behavior, do I push a specific button, and the third is the environment of how hot or cold, is it created by the user, is something changing in the environment. So in that sense, isn't voice also a data in the car? I mean, how do you see that playing? Because I think you brought voice to the car.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think we are not the only ones who brought voice in the car. I think because I was talking to Joern the other day, I tried out the A-Class, and I have to say they have done a very good job there by integrating voice in the car. We took a little bit...
They have a native integration of voice.
They have a native integration. So we also have a native integration, but we added something else in the car. So we actually integrated a third party. Because again, here probably the customers of a Mercedes or a Daimler car are a little bit different than the ones of a SEAT. So what we did is actually, I have been at the CES in January 2017, and well, actually, if some of you have been at the CES last year, then you will have seen that Alexa actually was everywhere, was the main topic. And there were several automotive manufacturers who were claiming, okay, it's coming, we are integrating it in the car. And then I actually asked some of them, and they told me that we'll be ready by 2021. And I said to myself, okay, I don't know if by 2021 Alexa is still the main thing to have in a car. So actually we talked to the Amazon Alexa team, and we told them, listen, come over to Barcelona. We have a young group of people which is very engaged, and we are developing quite in a fast manner. So let's think about if we are able to do a short track to actually come into the car. And actually we found one later that year in June. There's a specific smartphone app in the VW group where we managed to integrate the Alexa functionality. And we presented that last year at the Frankfurt Motor Show, and actually have it available since June this year in Germany and in UK, because that's the 2 main markets where Alexa is present at the moment. But new markets are going to come soon, and this is just, we think, in order to demonstrate how fast we actually are able to integrate such a new service into one of our vehicles.
Do you want to add something?
Yes, I would like to add 2 points there. So yes, as Fabian rightly said, usually it's very hard to develop something on the embedded side, and actually I think this is an area where there's going to be a big change. So by the means of virtualization, containerization, in the future it should be much easier to integrate functionality like this into a kind of abstraction into the car, so that these service providers, they don't have to write this functionality for each car manufacturer new or customize them, but they can have one container, and that's sitting on the right abstraction layer, and that can be integrated. So basically then you can have the best of the 2 worlds, and you bring this into the car, the functionality that you want, and leave the part that you don't need or don't want out of the car. So I think the functionality, the development inside the car, and the seamlessness of the technology will be different in the sense that what is now common in the software development in the cloud or outside the car will move closer into the embedded systems world, yeah? And this will be a big step forward. And to the mobility services, I think right now a lot of mobility services are nice to have. They're giving some enhanced user experience. But for these three pillars, the shared mobility, and especially the autonomous world and the electrical world, these are really they are really the foundation. So you cannot have any experience and you cannot use these technologies without mobility services, because otherwise it will not be accepted by the user. It starts with the payment and with the fueling of electrical vehicles and everything, fleet management, and so I think this is really the building blocks. And now we're in the area, or in the era where we're still playing around with the first mobility services, but they will be really crucial in the next years.
So if anybody in the audience has a question, I would like to give you a chance.
Hi, just a quick question. Do you see your development as a platform more than just a vehicle? Could I, as a startup or an entrepreneur, create business on your platform? Could I be using your cars as a car sharing platform? Could I bring groceries and unlock the trunk and put stuff in and so on? Would that be a possibility?
Well, I think the best thing is that Björn answers, because they have some of these services already available.
Smart move.
Yeah, so in general, yes. So the question is the platform sitting inside the car or is it sitting outside the car? I think there are already services where exactly this is happening. So you offer third parties to build on services that use car functionality, like unlocking the trunk to put something inside. I think technology-wise, we still have to also make a step forward in the sense of we have to be able to really make this in a secure way, not compromising the security and also not compromising the safety. I mean, the car is still a high value object, and no customer wants to have it tampered around, that the wrong person opens the trunk, and there are liability issues, of course, with this. I think the goal is, yes, to offer this, especially if the customer has given the consent, of course, for doing this. But there are a lot of issues that need to be resolved, so it cannot go in the speed maybe as one would wish for.
So I think we are referring to Amazon and delivery in the car, in the trunk of the car, as an option.
Yes, there's also this functionality is already offered. For example, Smart did something like that. But as I said, there are some issues with this for the main lines. Yeah.
Sounds good.
That concludes part 2. Subscribe to this channel and come back for part 3 as we wrap up this fireside chat about future of mobility experience in the car and what business models are going to pay for it.